Two or something like that.
And lockdown projects.
Yeah.
Industry.
Well, the weathering's good on the bogies on the wagons.
I can never bring myself to weather the locos though, which they really should have. But there you go.
No, maybe just on the wheels and maybe a little bit.
Well, that's what I tried to do. I mean, they're in matte, so they're sort of toned down a bit. But I mean, strictly speaking, I should put a few streaks on them. But I'm always a bit cagey about doing locos, whereas with the wagons, I don't mind. I just sort of splash it all on.
Well, cheaper doing that than painting locos, really.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if I screw up a wagon, it's only a few quid's worth. Whereas if I do a loco, they're considerably more pricey. So
Yeah. Are they pushing buffers?
should do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a bit stiff, but yeah, they're strong. Probably need to put a dab of oil on that. Now that one's really stiff. Yeah. Something I always find doing the buffers, you assemble them clean and they're fine, but as soon as you start painting and weathering, the slightest touch of thinners gets inside the shank, and that's it, it's done. You can't, it's never quite the same after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're all right. Just a bit more. Just need a little bit more coal in them.
Well, I normally model them as almost empty because that's actually railway ballast, and it gives the wagon a little bit more weight. The plastic kits are fairly light otherwise.
Yeah, there is that.
In fact, that logo's fairly light. I don't know how much it'll pull. Probably only about half a dozen wagons, but then.
I reckon that could probably carry no more than 6.
Well, I think for a small layout, I'm just shunting around, it's probably 6 is okay, but if it was running on a bigger layout, it wouldn't pull much of a train.
No, that's not the right here. Is what the I don't get it seaside and then it's not going up and down.
I've got one of them in my stash at home, but I'm still trying to build a refrigerated.
Yeah, I think is it either a refrigerator or a goods van.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a few weeks back. I ran into an old friend of mine who was selling off a lot of his stuff, and he sold me 5 O-gauge wagons, but they were all of them started but not finished, so they're in varying degrees of bits missing and things need doing. So I'm gradually working my way through them. One of those is one of the ones I've got to deal with.
It's nice to have a array of wagons together.
Yeah, that's right. I've got more wagons than I can shake a stick at. Actually, I keep collecting them. If I get bored, I buy another wagon kit because they're cheap, you know. And the upshot is I can probably fill this track into anyway. Yeah, I've barely started on my layout.
Get on that, you have to, because you stay in the car. Yeah. When you're sitting in the car on the train. It's weird. Because they put the thing back.
You managed to do anything much over the lockdown? You get stuff done? Or?
Oh God, yeah. Quite a bit actually.
Because I mean, you
Most of the lot here will be surprised what I've been craving.
yeah, because you often you buy stuff at swap meets, don't you? Which presumably you couldn't have done while the lockdown was on. So
No.
yeah. I mean, I'm fairly lucky.
How much was one of these?
It depends on the wagon, but they're between 30 and 40 quid for a kit. They probably need about a couple of quid's worth of paint and glue and stuff to put them together and get them to work.
Well, I go to a local shop and get super glue for my kits and stuff.
Yeah, I got a very good little hardware store quite near here, just down on the Brighton Road. In fact, little Romanian guy does it, and he stocks the Gorilla Glue super glue, and that is smashing stuff. It's a sticky glue, so you don't have to worry whether it's gone on. But once it sets, it locks tight. I mean, far better than most. When you see it advertised on the television, and I thought, yeah, bloody American product. But in fact, when I actually got a tube of it, it's the real deal. It works proper. Gorilla Glue, it's called. Brilliant.
I've always stuck to using super glue in that really.
Well, is it super glue? Yeah.
Yeah. Just the because there's one type of Gorilla Glue that's not very good. It sets in like about 2 hours or something, and it sets like into a complete thick mould.
Oh no, you're thinking of the epoxy version that they do. No, I'm talking about the Gorilla Glue super glue, which comes in a little capsule thing. And I found that's better than some of the others.
Well, believe me, you don't want to use that one for modelling kits.
Yeah, I'm not a great fan of any epoxy glues actually. My daughter buys them sometimes because she uses them. She's a skateboarder, and she uses them to assemble bits. But I never got on with it. All this sort of stuff where you have to stir it together and get the what they call it, the catalyst. Yeah, you get the catalyst into it. I never got on with that. It always goes wrong for me. So.
By saying that, something seems to keep fortunately going wrong with the track.
Yeah, certainly he's taking it all up because he's wiring up for points, so he needs to take it all up and put it back down again. But he's turning this into a DC test track, which is brilliant, so we can buzz up and down here anytime we want.
Yeah.
This is the one that impressed me. I haven't seen this one actually assembled until they're coming down here now, and
It is impressive.
It's smashing, isn't it? And we've got our little village here, you know.
There's something going on in every little nook and cranny.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you've got a little scene everywhere, hasn't he? Sort of abandoned the street, and
there's soldiers marching down the Royal Guards marching down the street.
The guy cleaning his windows.
Even in there, in the
sort of warehouse.
warehouse, yeah.
Oh, we've got a driving party there, haven't we? Got a wedding car. All the folk in the back with the marquee having a wedding.
That don't know if you ever heard of it. It's looks like exactly like Mr. Bean's car.
Yeah, it looks like it is. Isn't it?
Green Mini.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a bit of a joke, isn't he, putting that one? That's another one that's rather good. You see the War Memorial?
Yeah.
He's used the double O figure to make a giant statue.
Yeah. It's got a bit of a weathering effect in the good shed.
Oh yeah, you got a funeral at a church. You got a wedding one end and a funeral in the other.
Yeah.
So where's the christening? There should be a christening. That's much of this much.
I have made a little fishing scene myself at home.
I'll tell you what, it must be difficult to get these down in Engage. I mean, those figures are tiny. I mean, I'm used to guys about that big, you know.
I think he said it took him about over 10 years or something to build all this or something.
I'm not surprised. He must have been working at all these little scenery details, you know, putting them on a bit at a time, week after week, you know, get it like this.
When you walk along the road, look up, you see an alleyway, and it's got steps up there. And this is what it is.
But yeah, there's a lot going on here.
That one there.
Yeah, because the time when you turn it doesn't go like that, the time goes like
That's a sort of history of that.
I can make a cattle dog when the horns mark something.
1940s and 50s.
I'll make one of those.
Someone in a trolley. And then more modern ones.
If I got any sheep can go on it or not, that's I don't think. Obviously supposed to be a bus fest going on, all the banner going on there.
It could be actually, now you mention it, because we were just saying 1940s and 50s, old trams, a trolley bus, you know.
Little information boards.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so it's a festival, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a Messerschmitt bubble car. You've probably never seen one of those. They produced them for a few years in the early 1960s, but they were horrible little death traps, and they weren't popular, and they stopped making them after a bit.
It's an army transport truck.
They've got one or two, we've got some military vehicles there as well.
He has got these traffic lights. They do light up, but how? There must be tiny little bulbs in there to make those work.
Yeah, that'd be fairly complicated. Unless they're just sort of point indicators, you know, if it points that way, that one goes green. If it goes the other way, that one goes green. Some people do it like that, don't they?
I think there are central switches, I think.
They are
take your
central.
attention to the point of...
So you can actually be a signal if you...
Yeah, somebody had them. Yeah, I think it's these.
I mean,
Somebody had them working last
look at the way it's done the allotments there and the gardens.
Yeah, I recognise that back scene. Because you can get it in N gauge and 00 and O gauge, depending on which scale you model. But those houses, very typical sort of South London, aren't they? When I first got married, we used to live in one like that.
Well, that's an actual house back scene.
Yes, it is. It's photos. And
Yeah.
But the semi-detached at the end is pretty much just like the one that we moved into when we got married, because that was a standard design in South London. They had thousands of them. Yes, it's a DMU depot, isn't it? Or a diesel depot.
Yes, I mean, there's so much going on here.
I suppose the trick is you just do it a bit at a time, don't you? You maybe spend a night doing one little bit, and then you just keep going for years. 360, police panda car.
Yeah.
I don't see them anymore.
An old ice cream van. I've got to say the detail on the buses are mackerel, aren't they?
Yeah, you've got all the variations on the route master there, haven't you? The London Country one and the
silver.
DL2.
The silver one is that's the Silver Jubilee.
The Jubilee one, yeah.
Silver Jubilee.
Yeah.
Silver one.
London Country and standard LT Net.
It's even got posters inside that evening.
On the newsstand, yeah.
The newsstand is actually posters inside on the wall behind it, tiny.
So there is, yeah.
Get a few trees and
The crossing lights up, and the street lights, and also the buffers there lights up too.
So if you're really confident with the layout, you could sort of run it in a darkened room with the signal lights and the street lights and everything, giving you the scene, couldn't you?
Is that a model shop back there, White Sea?
Yes, that one. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can often make advertising signs like that, can't you? From cutting bits from magazines, you know, for the picture of a building, you can.
Well, I've actually got. I took a picture from across the street of James Trains, and I'm gonna get my mum to print them out this big and make it into a array of shops, like something like that.
Yeah.
Make it into actual buildings, 3D printed,
Yeah.
based on the front of the picture to like actual building.
Yeah, there's a guy that Raymond and I know who's been doing that quite a bit. There's a bloke called Ian Lampkin, and he's produced a big American layout Santa Barbara in California, and he went there on holiday, and he took a series of photographs behind the station there, and he spent an age creating a huge long diorama from all his photographs. He got on Photoshops and enlarged